The 577th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em. Sign up today with promo code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And we're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store. Just use the promo code SGPNMay. Act now as the sale ends on Friday.
Heidi ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 577 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Going out to, I already forgot who was going to dedicate it to. It's someone in the Discord. Please hold while I scroll up. This is a great start to the show. Preston, who made a return to the Discord briefly to compliment me. So like I said in the past, you compliment me, you're going to get a show dedicated to you. Thanks for coming to the show. Me would be Jeff Chalks Fox. I'm known by lots of names, but I think I'll go with Chalks today. Even though, foreshadowing, I may not be chalky on this card. I don't know. I may have some crazy picks, and I'm talking about UFC 302. Yeah, interesting card for me to pick fights on. I don't know. I think I'm kind of getting wild. I'm letting my hair down here, hair that I don't have, and may just be making some picks based on the gut. Who's to say? Gumby could always, Mike host may always scare me off some of these picks once he gives all the thoughtful reasons why the other fighter is going to win, but we shall see. Today is all about UFC 302's prelims that are going down this Saturday from Newark, New Jersey. And then tomorrow will be the pay-per-view portion of the card, along with our locks, dogs, props, and Hungryman Jong Superfan 2-fight parlay, which will win us mucho dinero, because this is the week that it is going to hit. All right, let's bring in the man. He's known for his regional MMA picks, but he can hit a UFC pick here or there. It's one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of those regional MMA lines, which have already kicked on Monday's show. Not that you want to breeze through UFC 302, but on Monday's show we're going to be doing Octagon, and already got some lines that I really love on that one, and might even be interviewing a fighter on that Octagon 58 card. So yeah, a little preview there.
Awesome. So we got Octagon, and what else? What else we doing next?
We're going to do Fury FC too.
Fury, okay. Recap Sunday, UFC recap Sunday, Octagon Monday, Fury Tuesday. Sound good?
Yeah, and then we got another great UFC card next week. UFC Louisville.
Oh boy. It's not in the Apex, so it's not the worst card in the world, but it's, as I haven't really looked too far ahead to it, but as Gumby's sarcasm in his voice betrays that the card may not be the strongest. This pay-per-view card that we're going to be discussing may not be the strongest either. But
I love it.
Like I said, yeah, it could be a lot of fun. I called it a B level pay-per-view, which is fine. We had a C level pay-per-view last month from Brazil. So this one is a step up because we got Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier in the main event, and a lot of other names on it. But they're proving, I don't know if this proves it or not, but this isn't a top shelf pay-per-view. I had a lot of fights that I was on the fence about and that I had to dig and do more research about. Usually pay-per-views, it's more cut and dry with me because these are fighters I've seen hundreds of times. Not really, but fighters I've seen quite often. This card has a lot of fighters who aren't household names, as Gumby likes to say.
I think also, even if you are super familiar with them, because I know all these guys well enough that the UFC cards, I have to do quite a bit less film and less research. I just think these fights were very well matched in terms of style. With the exception of a couple that I'll talk about. I think the stylistic matchup of most of these is excellent. So I think that's probably brings you some difficulty there too.
Very true. Not too many out of this world crazy lines other than the main event, which is always great when the main event's got a -600 fighter in it. So I expect that number to go down, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Before we move on, most important thing we got to talk about, Gumby, your hat. Gumby has a new hat. Oh yeah, you thought I was going to go to an ad.
I thought you were going right to the ad.
More importantly, your hat, Gumby. Jong would be telling me off if I didn't get you to talk about your new hat, regional baseball, minor league baseball hat.
Yeah. This is the Hillsboro Hops in Hillsboro, Oregon, which is
what is that? What is that on your hat?
It's a hop. The Hillsboro Hops.
It's a hop. Okay.
Hop.
Like what they make beer out of?
Correct.
A hop.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the hops.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're the Hillsboro Hops in Oregon, which is a AAA team.
Hear how he was derisively saying it's a hop, like obviously that's a hop. Come on, everyone knows what a hop looks like, a cartoon hop, and that's obviously exactly what it is.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, someone who probably knows what team that hat is Noah Bieniek, who is our host of the basically he's our college dude. He knows all about college sports, especially college baseball, and the college baseball tournament starts Friday. And Noah Bieniek, BIENIEK, has you covered with the college baseball experience. Plus, hop in the college baseball bracket contest for a chance to win a $200 SGPN gift card. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale. Memorial Day may be over, but like I expected, our bosses are keeping the sale going for you till the end of the month. 50% off everything in the merch store. Promo code SGPN May. Obviously, the best stuff in there is the MMA Gambling Podcast stuff, but get whatever you want. Gumby's got an MMA Gambling Podcast swag on right now. I have a SGP hat on right now. So you want to be cool, like the cool dudes hosting this podcast. So make sure you get in the store. That would be sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. All right. UFC 302, Makhachev versus Poirier, but they will not be mentioned again on this here episode because, as I said, this is the prelims. It's going down June the 1st, which would be this Saturday, Newark, New Jersey. Your side of the world, but you're not going to it, right, Gumby? I think I would.
Correct. Yeah, it's not in the cards.
How far is Newark from you?
5 hours, maybe.
Not bad. Closer than it is to me, and closer than you are to me as well. So it's in the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. 12 fights, a lot of fights. If you look at the end of a Tapology page, because I live on Tapology because that's how I cap my fights, obviously. There's a lot of cancel fights on this fight card, but we are here with 12 fights. Not only one person technically on short notice, and that is the first person we're going to talk about here. So we start with the early prelims. I believe it's a 6:30 p.m. start from what I gathered last time I looked these things up. We're going to kick things off, like I said, with a fighter making their debut and a short notice debut. So alarm bell should be ringing in your head if you're a fan of the show. So that would be a flyweight fight. Mitch Raposo, that would be the fighter in question versus Andre Lima. 3 5-minute rounds, 125 pounds. Going to kick things off with telling you about Raposo. 9-1 with 4 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been submitted once. This is his short notice UFC debut. Once again, short notice fighters only win. What are we at now? 36%. So that number really hasn't changed. This year, they're even worse, 33% for short notice fighters. His is quite short notice too, isn't it? Like within the past week. Do you remember when it was called? Or maybe
no, like a week and a half ago, I think. It was
like
10 days ago he got the call.
Right. All right. So he is making his debut. Let me tell you a little bit about him. I already told you his record. He's won 4 straight fights, all via finish. That's impressive. He did lose on the Contender Series when he was on there. He went 0-1 there. Do you remember who he lost to, Gumby? I like to ask you this.
On Contender Series, he lost to Jake Hadley.
Yes, correct. You're very good at this. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. Remember the code SGPN May. He got outstruck by Mr. Hadley by 0.61 strikes per minute in that fight. He's at plus 220. Lima Mascote is the nickname. Do you remember what that means, Gumby?
I don't.
I think his mascot. Is it not? No, it's a part of Brazil, I think, is where he's from. Okay. I think. I don't know. I think
you tried to be cute last time and say it was mascot, and I think you were wrong.
No, it's also mascot. It translates to mascot, but I think it's also, I think it was part of area in Brazil, but does anyone really care? Probably not. They're probably getting angry at me right now. So let's move on. Lima is 8-0. That's impressive. With 5 knockouts, 1-0 in UFC, 1-0 Contender Series. Used to fight at bantamweight. 2 inches taller, 3 inches of reach over Raposo. Better striking stats, better grappling stats. This is based off of one fight for Raposo, though. And Lima has struck his UFC and Contender Series opponent by 1.31 strikes per minute. He's at minus 250. Gummy's going to tell you why we're picking him.
Yeah, I'm going to take Andre Lima here. I think if you gave Mitch Raposo a full camp for me, I'd probably, especially with the line where it is, I'd probably have to sit and think about this a little longer. Because Raposo can wrestle a little bit. Obviously, he had a little bit of trouble with Jake Hadley. which doesn't bode well. But like Andre Lima's been taken down a few times too. Granted, the last time he was taken down, somebody tried to take a chunk out of his arm. But like,
yep,
but
good time.
Yeah, but like the thing about Andre Lima is he's got the good ability to get back up. And for Mitch Raposo, who's going to be on short notice, cutting a ton of weight, he is kind of a bigger 25er. We've seen him fight 35 a bunch of times too. You know, like I think he fought 35 on The Ultimate Fighter, right? When he
he was on the Ultimate Fighter too, was he?
Yeah,
not?
he lost to Ludwig Shaolinian, beat him on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
But like you know, he can fight up at weight too because he is bigger. So I think this weight cut is going to bother him. I think the fact that you know, like he's probably going to get takedowns early, and then Lima's going to get back up, and he's going to get more and more tired and more and more tired and more and more tired. And then on the feet, I just personally think Lima's punches are straighter and faster. When you watch Raposo, it's not that he doesn't have power, but everything comes wide and from a wide angle. You know, he winds up on his shots a little bit more. Lima is really direct, particularly with that right hand. He'll set it up with the jab, and he'll come with that straight right behind it. And man, when it lands, it's got big power. Like especially for a flyweight, he's got big power there. So I think between the fact that he's going to be a little bit quicker, and then you're going to see Raposo kind of like wilt in the second to third round here, I think you're going to see Lima pull ahead late.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Lima. He was 0-1 as in pro Muay Thai, but 7-0 in kickboxing and a champion there. So I expect him to be the better striker here. And as Gumby said, you would assume to have the better gas tank too as the fight moves on. So we're both going chalk out of the gate. Let's move on. Women's bantamweight fight. She was the world's best featherweight. Now she's down to bantamweight. That would be Ailin Perez. She's up against Joselyne Edwards. 3 5-minute rounds. Edwards is La Pantera. 13-5, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. She's been submitted once, so a very durable fighter. 4-3 in the UFC, 3-1 over her last 4. She did lose her last fight. She's missed weight a couple times in the past, so keep an eye on that. Let's check on that stat. Fighters that miss weight, 41% win percentage. This year, 55%. So they're doing all right this year, but that's a very small sample size here. Normally, if you miss weight, you're going to lose your fight as well. Edwards also has multiple regional championships on her.
Mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. SGPN May is the code. You're going to hear that a lot, I think, this episode. Sorry. He's 3 inches taller, 4 inches of reach over Perez. More active landing strikes than Perez. She's outstruck her UFC opponents by 1.35 strikes per minute, plus 165. Fiona is Perez's nickname, obviously. 9-2, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. She's been submitted once. 2-1 in the UFC. She's won 2 straight fights after dropping her debut. Used to fight at featherweight, as I said. Used to fight at flyweight. Gumby, where she was a 2-time champion in what?
Samurai Fight House.
Samurai Fight House in the house. Yes, Samurai Fight House never die. She also has better striking stats than Edwards. She's outstruck her opponents in the UFC by 1.78 strikes per minute, minus 180. I'm going to get crazy with the Gumby. I don't know if it's just because I don't like Perez, but
I know it's because you just don't like Perez.
I'm picking Joselyne Edwards here. Very good striker, very good size, and she's going to be able to use it in this fight. I am concerned, obviously, with the wrestling. She's had some issues with wrestlers in the past. Quite a bit of issues with wrestlers in the past. So maybe this, like I said, I told you I was getting a little crazy with this. She did. Lucy Pudilova she stuffed 5 of her takedowns, so that's something. But
Lucy Pudilova's a flyweight.
I know she's not Ailin Perez. I'm rolling the dice here. I usually pick strikers over grapplers, especially at plus money fighting someone I don't like. Let's take Edwards.
But here's my question, and this is not to hate on the entire women's bantamweight division all at the same time. Is she a good striker? Like I don't know that.
No,
that's true.
She doesn't have to be though. She doesn't have to be at
like she outstruck. I think she's outstruck one of her opponents, and it's just Ramona Pasquale.
Oh God, she was so horrible.
She's I mean, like, listen, I'm just gonna read you her 4 wins in the UFC, and you tell me how good you feel about your pick. So reserve your judgment. Yanan Wu, Ramona Pasquale.
Yep.
Yi Jeon Kim, Fire Fist,
yeah.
And Lucy Pudilova.
You act like I don't already know all this. Yeah.
The last two of them are splits.
Maybe it's how you used to pick against Macy Barber back in the day. Maybe that's what's going on here. So
yeah, I mean,
take it with a grain of salt. I'm still going for it.
I mean, for me, the big piece here is that I watched Joselyne Edwards get outbodied by Jessica Rose Clark, who's now a boxer and was never a grappler. I don't like Ailin Perez either. I don't think she's a big talent at 135. I don't think, she's a future champion. I think the attitude and all the other stuff that goes along with her in the cage is not fun. It's not for me, right? It's not fun. But I do think she's got a massive, massive grappling advantage in this fight and is absolutely going to make this crazy boring to watch and probably win a 3-round decision.
Gumby is, I may not like Ailin Perez, but Gumby really likes grappling. So both of these you should take with a grain of salt, perhaps. But all right, I'm getting crazy with the Gumby. Maybe I'm almost breaking even now on the year, and I'm going to blow it this week by taking some crazy picks, but whatever. I'm doing it anyway. All right, before we move on, I took an underdog. Another place that at least has underdog in his title is Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing the pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats, like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You make entries of all basketball, or you mix and match across your other favorite sports, such as UFC. That's not really a sport. MMA, we'll say, but I'm not sure if they have anything other than UFC, to be true.
They've had PFL in the past.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, they have PFL. There you go. You can win up to 100 times your money. That is cool, and it's a ton of fun. Go to their homepage, underdogfantasy.com. They have a daily special on there every day. Plus, if you're a new customer, you get a pick'em special in the lobby when you sign up. And there's another and here. Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Thanks so much, Minnesota Timberwolves, for winning and making me do extra work today. I was hoping we'd have a few days off from writing Gummy, but no, they had to keep their season going. So anyhow, Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and the best state of all the states, Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up with our code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right. Let's see where we're moving to next. We got one more fight on the early prelims. That would be at welterweight. Mickey Gall versus Bassil Hafez. Yes, Mickey Gall is back. You asked for it, you got it. We'll tell you about him first. Mickey Gall 7-5 with 6 submissions, so obviously he's got to be back in the UFC. He's been knocked out twice, 6-5 in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight fights and only won 1 of his last 4. Got TKO'd in his last fight. That got him cut. That was back in April of 2022. He's not fought, at least professionally, since then. He's not won since July of 2021. 3 inches height, 2 inches reach over Hafez. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes. He's been outstruck in his UFC career by 1.31 strikes per minute. He's at plus 300. Hafez, the Habibi. Do we know about this nickname? Do we know why? He's on your show this week.
If you listen to the Top Turtle MMA podcast, which should be dropping right around the same time as this episode, you can listen to Bassil Hafez talk about the nickname the Habibi.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Hafez, 8-4-1, 1 knockout, 4 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 0-1 in the UFC. Before that, he won 2 straight fights. Like I said, lost his last fight that was his UFC debut. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Used to fight at middleweight. Got outstruck in his debut by 3.4 strikes per minute. Went 0-1 as a pro grappler, minus 350. So this is one of the wider odds we're going to get on this year card.
Yeah, I'm all about Bassil Hafez here. Yep. I think he's infinitely a better grappler than Mickey Gall. They've actually competed against each other in grappling before.
Oh, yeah?
Bassil Hafez beat him in a grappler's quest like 10 years ago. So I don't think you can necessarily weigh that into it. But like, I also just think he's a better grappler than Mickey Gall. Like Mickey Gall might have the submission skills, but like if you look at the wrestling, I mean, like Bassil his takedowns on JDM were insane. Like there are a lot of people, including one judge, who thinks he beat JDM. You know, like there's no other fight that JDM has had in the UFC where somebody has said that guy won, right? Because he doesn't leave it to chance, right? He knocks out Randy Brown, he knocks out Gilbert Burns, he blasts this guy and blasts this guy. There's a judge who thinks he lost to Hafez. And like that tells you all you need to know about his wrestling. While he wasn't able to like put the pedal to the metal on, 5 days notice or something like that to like ground and pound, the control is there. And really, I think that's all he needs against Mickey Gall. If he gets the top positions, I don't think he's going to get subbed by Mickey Gall off his back. I think the ground and pound is going to be there. I also think, with the number of knockouts that Hafez has on the feet too, and the fact that Mickey Gall's been knocked out a couple of times recently, it would not surprise me to see Mickey Gall get his bell rang on the feet either. Because he is not a particularly good striker, and Hafez throws bombs. So yeah, this is Hafez all day for me. I mean, the line is wide, but I'd be looking to put him in DFS lineups. I'd be looking to, try to find some props. Maybe you'll hear about a prop on tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, Hafez is the obvious pick for me as well. There's a reason Gall got cut from the UFC. Not up to snuff, and he's been sitting on the shelf for over 2 years now. So I'm sure he's been training, obviously, but he's not been getting real live MMA fight reps underneath the bright light. So, and he's a guy who needs to grapple, and I think he's going to get out grappled by this grappler. Grapple. So yes, Hafez is our pick there. All right, let's move on to the prelims proper. Early prelims are ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Pass. Normal prelims, ESPN 2/ESPN Plus. If you're in Canada, it would be Sportsnet. We're starting with a welterweight fight, a Spider-Man meme fight, Niko Price versus Alex Morono. And they have fought already before, these gentlemen. This is a rematch. Price, the hybrid, 15-7 with 2 no contests. He's knocked out 10 people, submitted 3 people. He's been knocked out 5 times, submitted once himself. 7-7 with 2 no contests in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight and only won 1 of his last 4. His last 2 losses have come via knockout or TKO. He had a no contest win over Morono. Actually, it was a win, I'm saying, because he knocked him out and then it got changed to no contest, I think, because of weed. So he knocked out Morono, we'll say. That was back in 2017, I believe. Was regional champion, 2012 pro MMA debut. An inch height, 4 inches reach over Morono, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats than Morono. Price has been outstruck just barely in the UFC by his opponents by 0.14 strikes per minute. He's at plus 210. The Great White, Alex Morono, 24-9 with 1 no contest, 6 knockouts, 7 submissions, been knocked out 3 times, 13-6 with 1 no contest in the UFC. Lost win over his last 4. Was regional champion, used to fight at middleweight, 2010 pro MMA debut. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.71 strikes per minute, minus 225. Going against what I usually do, and I am taking the guy who lost the original fight to win in the rematch. Like I said, been 7 years or something like that since then. I just think Morono's got more left in the tank than Price. A lot of wear on those tires, and he's been TKO'd and knocked out in his past 2 fights. And he has 6 children at home. I can't pick a guy who has 6 kids. So obviously Morono's the pick.
Yeah, I don't think Morono's recent stretch, or rather Price's recent stretch, instills confidence here. Morono is still putting in decent performances against tough opponents. Like, if you look at those 2 losses, right? Because you said he's 2-2 in his last 4. The losses are, what is it, Joaquin Buckley and Santiago Ponzinibbio? Like, those are 2 guys who are very sharp with the hands, who are safe defensively, who do the right thing in those positions. And then he beat guys like Court McGee, right? Like, his last one was over Court McGee. You got to respect that. And for me, Niko Price is kind of that like wild swinger. Like, he doesn't have the ability to beat somebody in a technical fight anymore, right? It's like he has to swing wildly and hope to get lucky. I mean, he was losing that fight with James Vick until he hit him with an up kick. Like, you're losing a fight with James Vick, and he hasn't looked good in any of his fights. He got knocked out by Robbie Lawler with 1 foot out the door. Like, I just think Price is the type of guy who has decided the type of fighter he is, which is a guy who blindly swings as much as he can, hoping to hit something. And then when he doesn't, it is off balance to be countered. And I think Morono is the type of guy who capitalizes on that. So I'm with you on this one. Give me Alex Morono.
Okay. We both are in on Alex Morono. We're also both in on Rhythm. I will spell it RITHMM. If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game. Make it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs his predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll a sportsbook. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI-backed money line spread and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, what's the next winning play for us? It is a welterweight fight, I believe. Yes, we're sticking with welterweight. Philip Rowe, you can call him Phil sometimes. Jake Matthews, 3 5-minute rounds. Rowe is the fresh prince. He's 10-4, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He owes his rounds. He has been knocked out once, 3-2 in the UFC, 3-1 over his last 4. He did lose his last fight. He's also missed weight a couple times in the past, so keep that in mind. You want to wait till weigh-ins Friday before you make your pick here or your bet. 1-0 Contender Series. He used to fight at lightweight, 2014 Pro MMA debut, 4 inches height, 7 inches reach over Matthews. You can see why he might miss weight once in a while. His more active landing strikes than Matthews is. He's been outstruck in the UFC and the Contender Series by 0.38 strikes per minute, and he's at plus 136. The Celtic Kid is 19-7. That would be Matthews. 5 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted 3 times. 12-7 in the UFC. Loss over his last 5. 0-1 in the Ultimate Fighter. Used to fight at lightweight as well. Was a regional champion, 2012 Pro MMA debut. 4 years younger than Rowe. Better grappling stats than Rowe, and he's outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.74 strikes per minute, minus 150. So a close line. Gumby, over to you.
I'm going Phil Rowe.
Me too. Underdog,
not just,
team ride.
Yeah, it's not just the size for me. It's that I think every single fight that Jake Matthews has ever been in is aged poorly. And I know that is like it's a wild thing to say across the board, but we're talking about, like, you know, when he lost that fight, he lost to Matthew Semmelsberger, right? I'm remembering that right.
This sounds right. Yeah.
That loss to Matthew Semmelsberger made me look down and be like, hey, Matthew Semmelsberger might be a guy. And guess what? He wasn't. He very much was not a guy. And I don't mean to like knock on Semmelsberger, but like he made Semmelsberger look like a world beater. And like, you know, then you can go back through his wins. Like I had him pulled up here, you know, like Andre Fialho. Andre Fialho gasses out in every single one of his fights. You know, shell of whatever the hell Diego Sanchez was at that time. Emil Weber-Meek, who we thought was like a world beater for like a hot minute and then turned out to be nothing. I don't know. I don't even remember Rosten Ahmed. Was that the guy with who was hairy and looked like he was wearing a shirt even when he wasn't?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Rocco Martin beat him. There's such like a bad record for Jake Matthews when you look back at it as it was, you know. I mean, I guess losing to Michael Morales by decision is like probably the best looking thing he's done since he beat Li Jingliang 7 years ago. And that's like your best thing, being a loss to a hot prospect is not good. And like, not for anything, Phil Rowe looks really good on the ground when he gets there. Like, obviously, the height of Neil Magny bothered him in the last fight, but I don't think that's enough to sell on him at this point in time, right? He's still the guy who went out there and knocked out Niko Price when Niko Price was being silly. He went out there and beat Jason Witt and Orion Koski. You know, like, he's a guy with good punching power, and he's actually got 6 submissions, too. So, yeah, give me Phil Rowe here for sure.
Yep, I was happy to see that he was an underdog, and I'm definitely willing to take a stab at him as an underdog, a guy who finishes everyone. Very dangerous, and you know, Matthews is not really a guy you can put a heck of a lot of trust in a fight. So definitely don't feel like taking him as a favorite in this fight. Yeah, so let's go with Rowe and see how she goes here. We've only differed on one fight. Yeah, the one where I went silly on it. So we shall see. All right, moving on to a lightweight fight now. Grant Dawson versus Joe Solecki. Grappler versus grappler. We'll tell you about Solecki first. 13-4 with 9 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 5-2 in the UFC. 2-1 over his last 3. But he did get knocked out in his last fight. 1-0 Contender Series. Better striking stats, better grappling stats than Dawson, and he's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.68 strikes per minute. He's at plus 360. Dawson, KGD is the nickname. 22-1, 4 knockouts, 13 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 8-1-1 in the UFC, 3-1 over his last 4. He got knocked out in his last fight as well. He's missed weight 3 times in the past. He used to fight down at featherweight. 1-0 Contender Series. 2014 Pro MMA debut, an inch height, 2 inches reach over Solecki. More active landing strikes than Solecki, and he's outstruck his UFC points by 0.7 strikes per minute, minus 450. Ouch. I don't like the line, but I got to take Grant Dawson here. This is they've kind of booked him a bounce back fight here. against a grappler who's not as good as him and a guy that he definitely can outstrike. Dawson's only going to lose if he gets knocked out, at least at this point. And Solecki is not the man to do that. So give me Dawson.
Here's the thing for me. So I've been back and forth on this fight a bunch of times. I think the piece for me that's so difficult is I don't know if Joe Solecki can or cannot defend a takedown. You probably just pulled up the stats, right? And you were like, oh, his grappling stats don't look all that good, right? He's only defended 50% of the takedowns that have come his way. Do you know what 50% of his takedowns are? It's his Jared Gordon fight.
Yeah.
Jared Gordon attempted 2 takedowns, succeeded in 1, and none of his other UFC opponents have attempted a takedown on him. And I think Joe Solecki is a better striker than Grant Dawson. Is there a chance he keeps his feet? I don't know. I would love to see him defend a takedown sometime in the last 7 years. I have to imagine he's prepared for it, right? And, his submission skills off his back are good for the most part, except for, being weirdly slammed by Drakkar Klose in that fight. But it seemed like he had the arm bar before that. Did he not? What did you say the odds were on Solecki? Is it enough to tempt you?
Let me see if it's enough to tempt you or not. Plus 360.
Sure, let's go Joe Solecki then. I'll differ with you on this one. I think
there you go.
I don't know necessarily that I think gun to my head I'm going to take Joe Solecki here, but I would love to see more takedown defense in there. But at the very least, I think he can hold his own with Grant Dawson on the ground. And I think, after that Bobby Green fight, I think I really have questions about Grant Dawson's chin. It didn't look good at all in that fight. So give me Joe Solecki.
All right, we both made a crazy play now. We'll see if either of them cash in for us. All right, main event of the prelims is a middleweight fight. Cesar Almeida versus Roman Kopylov, a.k.a. whose dad is he? Chase Hooper's dad, that's who. This one has switched. We have a different underdog now than when I originally checked it out, a day or two ago. It flipped over. So basically it's pick him now. Kopylov is 12-3 with 11 knockouts. He's been submitted twice, 4-3 in the UFC. He's won 4 of his last 5. He did lose the last fight via submission. He has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct at the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky with it. SGPN May is your code. Used to fight at light heavyweight, an inch of reach over Almeida, 3 years younger, better, more active landing strikes and better grappling stats. Kopylov has outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.56 strikes per minute. He is now the underdog at plus 105. Cecina is Almeida's nickname, which means what? I think Little
Caesar.
Little Caesar, yes. And that's his name. There you go. He's 5-0. There's a lot of littles in MMA. This man is 5-0 with 4 knockouts, 1-0 in the UFC, won his last fight via TKO, 1-0 in Contender Series, 47-8-1 with 1-0 contest in kickboxing and a champion in that realm. An inch of height over Kopylov. He's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 3.19 strikes per minute. He's at minus 110. So he went from the dog to a favorite, Gumby.
I'll take Cesar Almeida.
Me too. I'm sad that he's not a dog anymore.
Yeah, he was an underdog last week. Should have gotten in on him when he was still an underdog. I think this is a brutal matchup for Kopylov, if I'm being frank here, for 2 reasons. Number one, all he does is strike. Roman Kopylov, despite the OV last name, all he does is throw the hands. I mean, he got good kicks to the body too. But you put him in there with a world-class kickboxer. So you got a guy who will only kick and punch, and he's up against the guy who's really good at kicking and punching and really fast at it and got good knockout power. I'm going to take Cesar Almeida every time in that kind of fight. And then secondly, I think people are forgetting that Cesar Almeida kind of got his contract from Contender Series by being better on the ground than, Lucas Fernando? That's crazy. But he might actually have a grappling advantage in this fight too. I think the way he countered and wound up in the top positions and held those top positions and dropped ground and pound, I think Cesar Almeida could do that to Roman Kopylov too. And if he mixes it in just enough, you're going to see Kopylov a little bit more tired, and you're definitely going to see Cesar Almeida is the better striker. So yeah, give me Cesar Almeida here.
And Almeida at least has shown a get up ability in his.
Well, Kopylov's not going to shoot.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, maybe his son should teach him to shoot once in a while. Chase Hooper. Anyhow, yeah, Almeida, it's going to be a kickboxing fight, so obviously I'm going to go with the championship kickboxer here. They both have great power, so but yeah, I like Almeida. much better in what should be a stand-up battle. All right, let's recap, and then we'll get out of your orifices, and we'll get back in tomorrow. We both have Almeida. I have Dawson. He has Solecki. Both have Rowe. We both have Morono after I put Gumby's name down. Yes, now we both do. We both have Hafez. He has his favorite fighter, Fiona Perez. I have Joselyne Edwards, and we both have Lima. There you go. I shamed you for taking Ailin Perez. So probably the smart pick, though. We're back tomorrow. We got, like, as I said off top, main card, picks for you and all our fancy plays. In the meantime, we shall be in the Discord where Gumby is sharing gross pictures or links to gross pictures of fighters as per usual, injuries and whatnot, surgery pictures. You can count on Gumby for that. That would be sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. If Gumby thinks the photo is gross, then it's got to be really gross. So, what else can you can find us on YouTube, obviously, MMA Gambling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us there. Got to get our subscribers up. We got to hit that 1,000 mark. So whatever you can do to help us there, that would be much appreciated, even if you don't want to watch us. What else can you do? You can follow us on Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that for us. He is at Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer there, and on Instagram, same handle. You can catch Gumby's Top Turtle MMA podcast. As we mentioned, he's got the Habibi on this week, Bassil Hafez, and who's your other guest this week?
Randy Brown, the Rude Boy, who we'll be talking about tomorrow.
All right, you can probably check your podcast catcher, and you probably see his podcast there right now. So go to that after I'm done telling you goodbye. And obviously, you can get, not obviously, I have a Substack, moneymma.substack.com. I have a pick'em contest, a free one that I run every week. This week is no exception. UFC 302. Get in there. You can win some MMA gear or swag for free if you win it. So just check it out at moneymma.substack.com. And all good things, sports gambling is at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We shall be back tomorrow. The Habibi, Jeff Fox, and Danhina, Gumby Vreeland. And we'll talk to you then. Bye.